perhaps, or getting around by pedestrian mode, or other things of that nature. So we want to really understand what are those different modes that are causing people to allow you to get around in your community. And then beyond that, understanding how much wear and tear this is putting on the community in terms of greenhouse gas emissions and things of that nature. Right now, a recent study said there's over 100 miles per day per person on an annual basis is what's going on. How much of that in terms of pollution coming into the environment? How much of the greenhouse gas emissions? What is that having an effect on our ecology? And broadly, what is it having effects on health effects and things of that nature in our community? And related to transportation, we're really thinking about also housing. Again, we think we know these things, and this is what we think we've heard from the different reports. But there's a recent study that came out in January that said there needed to be at least over 1,500 affordable housing or workforce housing units made available in the community. The goal to get to is the community is saying they want a goal of 50% of the workers that are in the community come from the community. So we really want to change the dynamic that we've seen this declining number and change that to something different. There's a whole number of projects right now that are being considered. And if you've been watching the Adirondack Daily Enterprise, there's been several articles about the peaks at Lake Placid, the former Cell Science Center, and discussions about what the makeup of the needs for that housing development are, as that is a site potentially for the Athletes Village. If you were listening recently to the announcements by the FISU and the Adirondack Sports Council about what's going on with the Athletes Village locally there in Lake Placid. And same thing with the West Valley Apartments on West Valley Road in Lake Placid. What does the makeup of that need to be, and what's being planned there as projects? And curious what your thoughts are about that. And lastly is the current understanding of what's going on with the recent decisions regarding seasonal rentals. We currently understand there's about 780 plus short-term rentals and about 1,200 seasonal, more than 1,200 seasonal homes in the area, and how that affects what's going on. And we want to kind of hear what's going on with that. Almost a quarter of the homes, that means, that are seasonal residents. So what we want is these are some things we think we're hearing and we think we know. We really want to understand the real true dynamics as we go through this conversation this evening to make sure that we're really articulating well what needs to be done as we go forward with this conversation this evening. So questions we always want you to be asking are us and asking as we talk together through these things, and as your neighbors and your friends and the people that come in and out of the region talk tonight as we go into these sessions of to talk about these things. Are we right? Are we right about the facts and figures? Do they make sense to you? Are there some things that you have questions about? What do you think about these? What do you know that we don't know? Please let us know those things, and tell us things, but also challenge us, and also question us in terms of what we just put forward as some figures as we go through the sessions tonight. So what we're going to do is touch a little bit on the topic of lead for communities. For those that may not know, the New York Olympic region recently was named a LEED community, LEED meaning for leadership in energy and environmental design. And this is a new rating system to say that communities at a community scale have met certain criteria to be considered what they call sustainable according to the U.S. Green Building Council. And we attained what's a gold ranking, and it was celebrated back in December of 2019. This has also given us an idea about how we use metrics to start understanding things. The Lead for Communities system really focuses on using performance as a way to see how a community can look at itself and perform over time. And so several of the things you're going to see tonight will reflect on that study that was done to support that certification. And some of the numbers you've already seen actually came from student work, and some of the students that are with us this evening helping us help do some of that work in collaboration with people like Dean Dietrich and others within our communities. And so we're very interested in talking about this and what that could be used as a tool going forward to help judge whether we're making the right decisions in transportation specifically going forward. So without further ado, what we're going to do is we're going to go into a series of breakout rooms. What we're going to do is we're going to slice and dice you into different locations to get you into different places where you can really take part in a conversation amongst yourselves. And what we're going to do is we're going to ask a series of 3 questions through this. And it's going to start off with a little scenario that will get you perhaps a little out of your quote unquote comfort zone. based on a simple scenario that one of our facilitators in the room, and they will begin this conversation in your breakout rooms, and they will run you through a series of these different scenarios that allow you to get some sense of what's going on in the community and give us some input on those things. But then as you go through that, it helps you prep for what we, at the end of it, in a larger conversation that we're going to have around what is your thoughts and what are your things that you're bringing to this conversation tonight that we really appreciate you're a part of. With that, I'm in the process of going ahead and assigning those. I'll do that. In the meantime, what I ask you to do is if you need to hit the, go to the restroom, do a little bio break, grab a cup of coffee, grab a beverage, those kind of things, get yourself a little more comfortable. We don't want you to get Zoom fatigue. We really want you to be engaged here this evening. So please go ahead and grab those things, get yourself prepared. We will certainly be looking to get more of you in there. So we'll take about 5 minutes during this transition time, and we'll go ahead and get you in your rooms about 6:20 this evening to get you started in these conversations this evening. So with that, we'll see you in a few minutes in our breakout rooms. Thank you very much. So if you're not familiar with Zoom, what's going to happen as you make your way back from your 5-minute break is you're going to get an invitation to go to a breakout room. So I'm going to be sending that invitation now. And facilitators, be at the ready. Have fun, folks.
Thanks, Erik.
No problem.
So folks should just hit the join button and you'll go to the breakout room.
Yep. Join the button. That'd be great.
Erik, that seemed to go pretty well.
Yeah, we'll do a little AAR, a little back brief on what you think once you clear the room. But thank you for that.
Mm-hmm. Well, we ended up with 30 people tonight for the breakout sessions, which is really exciting. Well, them are still getting there, but So wait, I'm going to actually bop out. I'm going to bop into a room real quick, and I'm going to bop back out because I, for some reason, joined a meeting. So I'll be right back. So if you can hang here, I'll be right back. So Wayne, what other thoughts did you have? Now they've got everything situated. You're muted, by the way.
Yeah, so I'm back here. No, I felt like the information that you shared seemed to be concise, and we'll see how the feedback based on the scenarios plays out and what kind of feedback we get. I did play a little bit of phone tag with my rep from Gilbane, so I didn't see them on the list. I did share the info, and we'll see if he does opt to come in, and for the future, see if there's an opportunity to kind of reel them in. Yeah, I was really more looking forward to seeing kind of how this flowed, just from a facilitating standpoint, as far as how it would occur, because it seems like a really valuable tool. I know that here in Rochester, they are not looking to do anything in person, or they want to do as much as possible remotely. And so I was kind of wanted to see how this would all play out.
Yeah, it's got its own little scientific experiment, if you will.
Right.
So, yeah.
I'm glad that I'm in the situation that I'm in as far as school and the work that, I'm having an opportunity to participate here, because I'm learning a skill that otherwise I might not have. And I can definitely see using it moving forward. I know that my construction manager with the city was all out of sorts, and I was actually pretty comfortable. So it was cool to help him out in that way. We actually had to do a kickoff meeting for a project. And that's something that usually happens where there's, 10, 15 people in the room, and you go around the table and you do that. And I was able to facilitate doing that for them via Zoom.
Yeah, you got to get comfortable with the technology to a degree. And like, obviously I just, you guys didn't have to do anything in terms of setting up the breakouts. I did that all on the fly as I'm talking.
Wow.
Get really comfortable with doing that. That was, even though I was talking, I was the one again. But you know, really try to, so that you got to be really comfortable with that. It's not easy.
Okay. Got it.
But part of it is I do it in class. Like, so I get used to like, okay, I want to put these 5 people in here. And if it was much more than like we had tonight, if it would have been like 80 people, it's really hard to do. But
That'd have been crazy.
yeah. I'll just leave this up so people come and go. Because one of the things they can do is leave the session and go back into their room. So,
Okay.
so one of the things that, so in terms of what we're doing while we wait, you know, if you need to grab a bite to eat or whatever. The other part is that if people come late, and I just had Joanne McKenna, for instance, came in late.
Yep.
And so what I did is, I probably shouldn't have put the 2 of them together. So I just assigned to the room that had people needing it. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to bop in. So what we should do, neither one of us should be in a breakout room at the same time. So I'm going to go check out a couple rooms.
Okay.
And then I will come back out to this room. And then just you can maybe pop around, just listen in. That's fine. But we need to leave at least one of us out for any latecomers or for people that get confused and want to go to another room or something like that.
Got it.
Other
So
rooms.
one of the things I'm noticing, I'm not seeing where like I would be able to put somebody in a room, or I could even get into a room. I only see.
I'll show you how to do that. I'm going to show you on my screen how that. All right, I'm going to share my screen and I'll show you how that works.
Okay.
The problem is whenever I go to share something, it just takes forever to come up. There it is.
Got it.
All right. What you should have is a toolbar that sits around the bottom of your screen. It looks like what I've got at the bottom of my screen here. Are you seeing like a toolbar at the bottom of my screen? No, you're probably not, actually.
No, I don't, because I think mine is in the way.
I will stop sharing. Hold on a second. Hold on a second. I know what I'm going to do. I am going to do this, and I'm going to do that. And I'm going to do, okay. Here, if you look at the bottom picture.
Yep.
All right. When I scroll down to the bottom, you'll see there's a menu bar down here.
Yep.
All right. And one of them is a breakout rooms button. If you hit that button, this little menu that just came up, this big white screen menu that you're seeing, comes up.
So I don't have the breakout button.
You don't have a breakout button as a co-host?
I do not. I have the polls, participants, security. I do not have the breakout button.
Maybe I can fix that. Also, let me stop sharing this because that's not going to make much sense looking at my computer. Yeah, I don't want to make you host because I'll just mess up everything in everybody's life right now.
No problem. I just knew that.
I guess I'm stuck. You can go into rooms. I can't. You should be able to. You can't. Well.
No, I don't see that button that talks about being able to go into breakout rooms.
So you should now have let's see if that button came up now.
All right, so I see where it says join. There's breakout room 3 that I'm being directed to. I got the breakout button now. I see the breakout.
So yeah, so you have that. So now you can join that room if you want and pop in.
Okay.
If you want to go to other rooms, I'll have to assign you, I guess, to make that work.
Got it.
Have you do it. So I have to make the one to do all the assignments. So.
Yeah. So it says that I can actually hop into breakout room 3. But
if you want to go do that for a little bit and come back, that's fine. If you want,
all right, let me do that. I'll go for like 5 minutes and I'll come back.
And just leave the meeting, just be a silent partner, so to speak.
Yep. All right.
Hey, Eric, what's up?
Hey, Jen, how are you?
Good.
So you're getting here a little bit late. That's great, though. Are you ready to participate? We have some ongoing breakout sessions going on right now.
Seriously? No, I don't. Yes.
You ready to go? Okay.
I'm not sure what's happening. So can you?
So I did a little primer on kind of some background of what's going on in the area of the Adirondacks in the North Country in terms of some key figures and some of the challenges. In each of the rooms, there's a kind of a series of questions we're going to go through in a kind of a of your thoughts and issues related to transportation. So if you're ready, I will put you into one of the things. We're just getting started with the scenario. They start off with a scenario to kind of get us to think through a few things. And then there's a general input section kind of as we conclude. It's actually more than half the session will be about that. So if you're ready, I'll put you into one of the rooms that's already started, if that's okay.
But every section talking about the same thing?
A little bit different, but the scenarios are different, but the fundamental thing we're collecting is the same. It's very similar that we're collecting.
Well, what we're collecting?
So we're really trying to understand what are the transportation challenges, but what are your visions for transportation, and what are the things you see as things that can support that vision that already exists within our communities here in the North Country.
Okay.
Get feedback on today. Right?
I'm not sure how much I can contribute.
Well, I think when you get in the groups, I think you'll have a great opportunity to do that. So let me get you into one of them. It's in progress right now, and you can certainly chime in as you feel able. All right, Chen?
All right.
All right. You should have a join button. There you go.
All right.
I knew there was going to be latecomers.
Eric. Eric, you there?
Yeah, I'm here. I was, since I have my tablet, I can jump into rooms with my tablet at the same
I
time
see.
here.
Yeah. No, that's cool. That's cool. The pretty good conversations going on over in group 3. Yeah, they were talking about some pretty pretty interesting stuff. They were talking about the issue of transportation, and whether it be visitors that are coming in, and then what are just some of the challenges. And is it Santosh?
Yeah.
Yeah, he had put the question out there, they were literally just getting some feedback about the challenges for special needs access
Ooh,
and spacing.
that's good.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I like got stuck. I was like, oh, this is great. And the conversation went from there to talking about, access ADA parking spots for people who are, special needs, being able to park and get out. And then from there, they had jumped into the Holly and the trolley, the potential of having, pickup spots or whatnot, making sure that those are ADA accessible as well. And then as I right before I was getting ready to leave, they kind of jumped into this discussion around how there isn't this a huge, the demand isn't consistent to in trying to serve a traditional scheduled bus. The demand isn't such that it's
Yeah.
you're going to have it at this particular point in time, so that now
Yeah, I think I popped in for a second there where Lori was talking about that.
Yeah. So
Lori and Heather were talking about that a little bit, yeah.
Right. And then just as I left, they were into the discussion about how so many people arrive via a car, their personal car.
Yeah.
And if you're not in that central downtown area where you can walk everywhere, and you're out in one of the, I guess it'd be like the surrounding suburbs or surrounding towns, you now have to drive. But then to drive, then how are you going to get around once you do bring that vehicle into that space, because you don't have a parking spot available to drop your vehicle. So it's pretty interesting.
Well, if you want to dive in another room, now that I figured out I can do my tablet thing, I can be doing both at the same time. You can, if you want to pop into a bunch of rooms, we can do that.
All right. So I see 2 that I can get into this time around. So maybe I'll dive in there for a few minutes.
That's sure. That's fine. Whatever you want to do, Wayne, that's great.
All right.
We need to breakout 2. Good evening. Someone's joined by phone? Hello? I'm gonna try unmuting you, whoever came in on phone. I don't know if I can do that. Hello, someone's joined by phone. Hmm. So person joined by phone, I think you were in room 1. If you can somehow unmute yourself, I will get you reassigned to the room you think you might have been in, or if you're new to us, I'd be glad to explain what we're doing and get you in a room. So please let me know.
Hello?
Hello, how are
Hello?
you?
Yes, hello.
Good. So were you already
Yeah,
in the meeting already, sir or ma'am?
yeah, I was in the meeting. I was in the meeting. I was actually coming back from the city, and then my got cut off. I was listening to everything. I
Okay.
couldn't participate because I was driving.
So which
But
room were you in? Were you in one dealing with schools? Were you dealing, what was your
yeah, with the
schools?
school.
Okay, I'm gonna put you back in that same room. Is that okay?
That's okay, totally fine. Thank you so much.
All right, I'll put you right there right now. We'll get you there so you should be able to get set in there, okay?
Thank you so much.
Yep.
So Eric, can I get into group one?
Yeah, sure. I'll move you right over there. Sorry about that, Wayne.
No problem.
I had double muted myself for a second there. I'll move you over to group one.
All right.
Let's see, where are you? There you are. I am sending you. You should be able to join now.
Okay.
I mean, I think it's critical to, from these movements,
Good evening. Hey, Jim, is that you?
I didn't hear you. I'm sorry.
Hey, Jim, this is Erik Backus. How are you?
Eric, how are you? Somehow I got bumped off the session I was in, but I went back in and here I am.
Okay, well, let me get you back to where you want to be. So which room were you in? Were you in,
I was in 3.
in 3? All right, I will get you there. So I'm going to send you there now, okay? Santos, somehow you are in the main room. Let me, I'll get you back in your room. You should be able to rejoin. And I just got Jim McKenna back to you. You're muted.
Okay, we just finished.
Are you all done?
Right, 45 minutes. So I thought probably we are done.
Well, you guys can continue talking for a little while longer. We'll go until 20 up, until 40 up. So we got another 10 minutes or so.
Oh, is it 7:20 to?
Until 7:20. So we got started a little early because people didn't take as much of a bio break. But,
Okay, so because it was a little quieter, so I thought probably we are kind of need to come back to the main room. So what do I do now? I go back to.
You should be able to hit join and rejoin the room. You should be set.
Okay.
Yep.
How much more time we have, Erik?
About 10 more minutes. You have about 10
Okay.
more. Yep.
rioting in the streets. There's a murder on stage. You never know. Cool. Go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah.
In the group one, I heard one of us giving comments, and I didn't know if that was okay or not. So I had just been kind of texting or chatting my comments to the facilitator, directly. just kind of
Yeah.
do it that way.
Mm-hmm. Yep. It's going to be interesting to see. I bouncing between the rooms. What I initially went into the rooms, I saw room 1. I've been bouncing between all of them, kind of using my tablet, and it's been interesting to see. Room 1 was Anne really had to kind of pull the conversation along, and I didn't randomize it very well because there's Megan, there's Maura, there's a couple others in there that were Clarkson students. So as they come out now, we'll have to stop our side conversation. But
Okay.
welcome back, people. Thank you. Again, please make yourselves available of a stretch break. Take care of your biological functions as they may exist. We don't want anyone to be feeling like they're pressed, so take a few minutes, and we want to really avoid that Zoom fatigue. So please take a few moments and take care of yourself that way as you're coming back into the main room. You need to get a drink or something like that. Appreciate it.
So I have 7.5 pages of notes.
Outstanding. Well, I'm looking forward to actually our quick turnaround at the end of this. This is going to be fun. Well, everyone, as you're making your way back in, I will just remind you we are going to be on about a 5-minute biological or bio break. Take care of your bio functions. That means you need something to get a drink to wet down your palate because you've been speaking so much in your sessions, or if you need to use the location to do your download of different things biologically, please feel free to take advantage of that and do that for a few moments. We'll get started we'll look at no later than 7:30, getting started back again with a little report out from all of our facilitators and from you all, and then having further discussions. But please take a few minutes, stretch. It's always good to get the old arms up, stretch things out a little bit, get out of the Zoom fatigue. We want to make sure you're fresh and ready to go for our follow-up conversation here. So please take about 5 minutes to yourself. Thank you. All right, so we're about 25 after. I still think a few more folks are still getting back, so we'll just take a few more minutes for let them do what they need to do as they get back from whatever break they might have needed, checking on a message or whatever. Again, I really appreciate everybody's ability to be on this late at night with our Zoom session tonight. Thank you. Okay. I think most people are back at this point. Looks like from the screenshots I'm seeing, some people have themselves muted, of course, in terms of video. I can appreciate that. So again, if you're not speaking, we ask you mute yourself so that you're not, if there's background noise and things like that, that we're not hearing that. That's really appreciated. That's really a great thing. What we're going to do now is we're going to test our learning. I'm going to ask the facilitators for the 3 different breakout sessions to really lay out some snap reactions, what they think they heard from you this evening. And what I ask you to do is 2 things. One, be attentive to what other groups may have said and so on. And we'll leave it. We'll start with 10, 15 minutes on this, and then we'll do a general Q&A and have a discussion to close our session. But as they do that, if there's some salient points that stick out to you, or hey, we talked about in our group and we had some sort of point about that, it might be different, or it might be a point of continuity. Please go ahead and put things in the chat. We're going to activate the chat tonight to put in your comments and thoughts as you're hearing these things. And if we're not hearing it right, or our facilitators might have gotten something a little off as they hear things, react to that. Please let us know your thoughts about that. So the idea here is to get more listening, more feedback, and you may not have had the same conversation in your group. So if you hear something different, that's really important. So we'll start with group 1, and Dr. Ann Mosier from Syracuse, want to share a little bit about what went on in your group, you would?
Yeah, absolutely. So this was a lot of fun. Thank you, group, for the robust conversation, and you've given me a lot to think about. You know, we started out with our scenario, which was role play, that you are worried about the start of the new school year. And are you going to need to adjust how you get around Lake Placid, given the start time of school and the ending time? And so the conversation initially started out addressing issues surrounding congestion at different times of the day, and then also close to the schools. But it quickly morphed into a discussion about different modes of transportation to get to school. So we talked a fair amount about the challenges of being a pedestrian versus a bike rider. And we also talked a fair amount about some of the different potential solutions to those challenges. But some of the really interesting things that came out of this in our group was we talked not only about the physical facilities that pedestrians and cyclists need, but we also talked about the human resources. And a couple of people brought up crossing guards, and then also the folks who are actually employed by the school district to get parents and kids in and out of parking lots in a timely fashion. And that was something that I hadn't really thought about before. We also talked a lot about the challenges just of wintertime and what that means for pedestrians and people who ride bikes. And, you know, one of the things that was raised was the possibility of autonomous systems being a solution to some of that wintertime problem. And that kind of morphed into a discussion about the importance of big events and the capacity that is required to host those, but how that might be leveraged to do other things. So we also talked a bit about what our research team has actually been referring to as a spatial mismatch. And that is the fact that there is a high demand to be in Lake Placid, but to actually live there or park there, it's pretty expensive. But yet there are a lot of service workers who are commuting from a long distance or who are having to you know, pay for parking or live somewhere else, and it's very expensive for them. And so we heard a number of possible solutions to the parking challenges. But to me, I think one of the most interesting things that was mentioned was the fact that we need to take into account the special nature of the Adirondack Park and, you know, what people are going there for, either to live there or as a visitor. And as we think about different transportation and housing solutions, are we potentially introducing things that are incongruent to the culture of the park and to its nature? So those were some of the things that we talked about, and I've got a lot more notes than that, but those I think are the highlights. And I hope, team, that I conveyed things and properly, or if there's stuff that I missed and you feel strongly that you need to jump in right now, go ahead and do it.
I was just going to exact. If you have some further comments, please jump in.
Oh, thank you, Brian Roy, for the thumbs up. You've made my night.
Any other thoughts from group one? Well, Ann, you must have been an amazing facilitator. You've captured everything. They're speechless.
No, they're just being polite.
So next we'll turn to group two and Dr. Stephen Bird from Clarkson. Dr. Bird, can you maybe give us a little snapshot of yours? And you're muted, sir.
No, I'm not. Sorry about that, folks. I always have the issues with the mutes. So we had a really interesting discussion. Our scenario focused on the commuter scenario. So looking at the challenges that commuters face, and it was a really great discussion. We had some overlaps with a couple of things that Ann's group, and I'll try to run through them. There were some discussions about the overall challenges of commuting in the context of the North Country. We're talking about long commutes, and in particular, safety and winter commuting came up a real challenge, and derived from that the challenges of weather maintenance of transit systems throughout the wintertime, road salt, that sort of thing. We heard stories about construction laborers that pooled from St. Regis, came in to Lake Placid, you know, arrived at 7 o'clock in the morning, which meant that they were leaving at 6 o'clock in the morning. So really big challenges. We had a variety of different kinds of discussions, but one of the big pieces was whether we're looking at visitors coming in or commuters, either way, was the idea of having what we started to call multi-modal solutions as those people arrive to the destination. So whether you're looking at rail options or bus options or van pooling options. It's a matter of the fact that they're not going to be able to bring each person to the specific destination they need. So at some point you come in and there has to be a movement and a shift to a different mode. And the big challenge that we see in that, something that a couple people focused on, is that a lot of times commuters, and this came up obviously also with the folks thinking about school systems, is that people want individualized transit options. So they're trying to solve commuter options, but they also want that freedom. And it's those two things are a little bit incongruent. Another option, in addition to, you know, van pooling, bus options, concerns for scheduling, and rail options, was the opposite, which is we need to work to densify the downtowns. We need to create housing where people work so they can walk, or their commute is a half mile instead of 45 minutes. And there was some discussion about whether housing opportunities can be short-term or long-term. And I think probably it's a bit of both. But the big challenge is, I think, seeing some of these multimodal solutions and trying to address some of the bottlenecks, and trying to sort of think about commuting as not just commuting, but also a housing option problem. And then lastly, there was some discussion in the context of multimodal solutions, thinking about bike options and the limits that there are because of weather there, and also some more generalized discussion when we move to people's individual concerns, thinking about parking consolidation options and shuttles. How do you make that appealing to people? How do you make it granular enough that people are actually willing to do it? And then talking about what things look like when 5 to 10 years down the road, when we start to move, similar to the last group, to more autonomous solutions, and what kinds of options might exist in terms of small scale autonomous buses, or autonomous vehicles, or autonomous trailers for visitors. So I've tried to cover everything, but feel free, participants, to jump in with anything you felt I missed or didn't capture.
Yeah, anyone from group 2 have any other thoughts or input you'd like to put forward from your discussion? Again, Dr. Bird, you're knocking it out of the park.
There we go. There was a lot going on in that conversation. It was hard to keep track of. So,
well, great job. Thank you.
Yep.
So last but not least, we'll have Dr. Mahapatra from Clarkson University, who was with group 3, give a quick summary of that group.
Thank you, Eric. I think we had a very interesting group, and to my mind, they were very, I would say, analytical in their thinking. That was my understanding. Some of the main points that are raised by Anne and Stefan were also kind of reflected by the group. But let me quickly kind of recap some of the big trade-offs or analysis our group made. I think the key issue from this was a group which talked about the renter's perspective. So there are renters and rentees. From a rentees and renters perspective, it was felt there's a big trade-off between adding to the asset in terms of multimodal transport that Steve mentioned, or any kind of investment in the infrastructure in terms of trails or sidewalks and things of that kind, and parking space. So clearly, if you invest in one, there is an implication on the other, and balancing that trade-off was a difficult issue, particularly on high peaks where the area is pretty small. So that was a key issue, that how to balance that trade-off. I think that is something interesting to think about. And when the reliance on mass transport or public transport is more, or there is a more kind of emphasis for that kind of solution, the key challenge, it was understood to be scheduling, because it's very difficult to get the critical demand to make sure that kind of transportation solution are cost efficient. there is a high degree of unreliability or unpredictability with respect to the type of demand at different point of time in the day. So investing in that kind of capital infrastructure and manpower is a big challenge. And looks like the region doesn't have a good way to think about or good alternative to address that kind of issue. But as Anne mentioned and Stefan mentioned, I think seasonality plays additional complication to the whole issue, because none of these solutions are seasonality proof. I mean, something is good for a particular season, but not so much in the other region or the time of the year. So those are the kind of issues. And another big issue is the fact that a lot of focus has been on Lake Placid, but when we think about Saranac Lake or other nearby areas, there was some idea about hub and spoke kind of structure, but the resources required to make a spoke kind of arrangement is sufficiently, is insufficient. So there's a lot of lack of resource with respect to that thinking. So, and finally, the whole idea, everybody loves to maintain the environmental look and scenic beauty and walking as much as they can, but there is a trade-off, how far you can really walk. So it's a big dilemma, really, the group felt, and looks like there are plausible solutions, but the best way to move forward are still not very clear. I now invite the group to jump in and share additional ideas which I may have missed, but I think it was a very interesting conversation.
Any further comments from group 3? All right, not hearing any, but what I remind you that there is a chat box you could open for yourself. Please do, and if you have comments. I just now open the floor to anyone, whether it's specific in your group, maybe there was something that you heard from one of these different groups, or as you heard, you each had a scenario. One was about going to school, another one was dealing with what is it like to commute to the High Peaks region. Another one was, what about a seasonal owner or a rental owner, what they're doing. Maybe there's something in those scenarios that you might be interested in that you weren't part of that group, and maybe you have some thoughts about that. So we'll leave it open. Are there additional thoughts or comments that as we've been talking, this kind of concluding kind of plenary here that come to mind? Again, feel free to unmute yourself and speak out for that. We did an amazing job in these breakouts, apparently. Everybody did a very good job. We really appreciate that. But is there any final thoughts anyone has? So what I would like to queue up next, if there's I'm not seeing people coming up on the net to say something. Let me just give you a little taste of what's coming ahead and what's happening, so that you have a sense of not only for what's going on here with the ANCA on-ramp clean transportation summit, but beyond that, what we're thinking about, where we're going with things here. And I think that might get you some thinking, and I'd like to kind of hear your thoughts. For those that don't know, in partnership with several parts of the community, certainly the municipalities of Lake Placid and North Elba, but beyond that, the school district, ORDA, and other partners across the region, including ANCA, and some different corporate partners and so forth, we've put together a proposal for what's called a Civic Innovation Challenge. And we're hoping to, back in August, and it's our hope and it's our belief that we'll be successful in having in that proposal. And we'll have a chance to really start thinking about what we can do to implement some sort of pilot scale effort within the New York Olympic region, in this High Peaks region, that will support the region broadly. That we should, if we get selected by the end of October, we'll be able to really plan and develop that. So, if you will, this conversation we're having this evening, these ideas and all that, are part of a larger picture of what could go towards what we're hoping for a $1 million grant opportunity to bring funds and resources at the federal level, all the way down here to right here in the central Adirondack region, to overcome potentially some of the burdens and challenges of what needs to be done to make some of these ideas come to light. Lots of interesting ideas here this evening, and specifically about automated vehicles, for instance. And how do we get different choices for folks where they want them and how they want them. So we're hoping to hear soon. And then presuming that we get this, what we'll be doing through the months of November, December, January, and February would be engaging in further sessions like this, where we really try to hear the public and start developing what are the plans for what we would want to do for a pilot scale effort. What are the components of that? We've got innovation partners as part of this. We've got partners in planning. We've got the DOT partners. We've got partners across different scales of the institution of government, but also in terms of different opportunities. And so we're looking to get more ideas and bring more together. We really want to have it so that we get from folks that we have not heard from. It was awesome to have you all here tonight. It was great, but we want to hear from more folks. Maybe those that we don't normally get to hear from. Maybe the people you're thinking of that you would normally not have a conversation with, that might be somebody we want to invite to these kind of sessions. And so we're encouraging you to talk about this session, what you did here tonight, and share, hey, we're going to try to do more of this with the hope that we get the grant at the end of the month that we'll be able to do that. So with that, please, if you've got some thoughts about how we can do that better, how we can really do more to get your input and start really developing a really robust plan going forward, that we can take a piece of that and really do a great pilot effort that would be kind of the beginning steps, the foundational element that would lead to some great, phenomenal efforts in the area of transportation, mobility, and housing in the kind of central Adirondack region, and obviously connecting to other parts. Let us know. Let us know, and let us know how to connect to that. Professor Bird has been kind enough to put my email and his email into the chat. Please reach out to us. In saying all that, is there anybody who has anything that they have in mind right now, based upon what I just presented to you, about kind of where we're going with this, what we want to do, what our hope is to help be something that becomes your solution for the future, that we're here to kind of help you do? Is there any thoughts about that or reactions to that from you and in your community? Oh, I don't see any. Well, good. I just really want to thank you again this evening. I just want to remind you as well, and we'll wrap it up here with this. Oops, is that this On-Ramp Summit is continuing through the rest of the week. We have Ascensions tomorrow. As you can see on the slide here, you can read it faster than I can say it. Thursday, and then on Friday, we'll have another community session, a little bit different than this one tonight, but more in reaction to what did they do during the summit, and what are your thoughts about all these technical experts that are being brought together, and other people being brought together in this summit. When they come up with their ideas, what do you think of those ideas? So on Friday at lunch, we'll have it the same link if you want to join us. Another session, it'll be more of an open session like we're doing right now, to get your input about what people have said at the summit and what does that mean in your community. You think that really fits? It doesn't fit, and so forth. So if you're able to join us from noon to 1 on Friday, we appreciate it. And then on Monday, will be a closing plenary where we report out on all the different aspects of the summit and use that as a report out for the development of where we go in the future. So please feel free, if you haven't already signed up for the summit, you can get on the ANCA website to take care of that, adirondack.org, and still sign up for the sessions tomorrow through Monday. And then we look forward to seeing you potentially, if you're interested, on coming on Friday to hear about where they've gotten and then get more reactions from you. So with that, Professor Bird, Professor Mosier, and Professor Mahapatra, do you have any final words for the group tonight?
Thank you very much. I think it was a great conversation, and I really appreciate the team. It's a team. Looks like the community is so deeply engaged about the problem. I really appreciate this. Thank you.
Yes, I second that. Thank you so much. And I'd just like to add that, take advantage of the email addresses that Erik and Stephen have put into the chat. And I think one thing that we're not only interested in what you have to say about transportation possibilities for the New York Olympic region, but we also would like to get some feedback on the process that we went through tonight and to hear whether or not the design of this made sense, or if there are other ways that we might foster conversation. I mean, it seemed to work, but I was a facilitator and I had to make it work, but we really want to hear from the participants. Was it awkward? Did you feel comfortable? So, you know, that's probably a difficult thing to discuss while we're in the room here together, but definitely take advantage of those email addresses and just shoot us a couple of lines saying, yeah, that was really great, or no, don't do that again.
Dr. Bird, any final words, sir?
No, just a thank you to everybody for your time. It's late, and I know everybody's just dying to get ready their popcorn and their beer to get ready for the presidential debate, or not. I say that as a political scientist. Thank you to everybody, and what Ann said is absolutely correct. We really appreciate your time. We would love your feedback. Please spread the word, and a thank you also to Erik, who put a tremendous amount of work into organizing this session. So thank you all, much appreciated.
And all to you, please, with the ongoing pandemic, please remain healthy and safe in your community. We thank you for this. It's been a struggle for all of us, but all the best to you. We're hoping to be engaging with you more, and stay safe and healthy. Have a great evening. Thank you so much.
Yep.
Wow, team, we did it.
Yeah, that went. That happens. Hit the stop record button. How about that? That would probably be a good thing at this
Where
point.
did Stephen go?